Is there any group that wants to go first or any group that wants to go last?
Oh, we can start, Brother Sam, because yeah, we don't mind.
We'll have to follow the order.
Okay. All right. Divesh says that it's okay because he thinks they've done a good job. So that's group A, right?
Yeah, we group A.
Okay, cool. I will let group A start. Give us feedback, reflections, and takeaways.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Sam. Maybe just to start, I would like to indicate the name of our group. It's called Shesha, which means rush. So there's one of our members just suggested the name that we have to rush. So the presentation will start by giving a feedback on the motivational talks of George and Simon, and we'll quickly just indicate who is in the group. We didn't actually give the meaning of the names, and then we'll give feedback for in terms of rules 9 to 12. So in our group, we've got myself, Sydney, and there's Divesh, Judith, and also Michael. So we deliberated on all the 9 to 12 points of the methodology. Starting from 9, on the follow-up, we deliberated on the points and the main key points that we took out of our discussion in terms of following up on inputs to verify views, and also the point that we have, the host is a good listener. You have to recognize an alternate input offered. What the team indicated is that if the follow-up make it easier for the guests to share more knowledge and more insight. And we've indicated that it's important for us to listen more in the conversation, and also allow the conversation to flow, and so that there is no gaps in between the conversation, and we try and ensure that we kill the silent point, the moment of silence, and also in the case where the guest is struggling, with the conversation, also to probe relevant questions to bring the guests, back into that flow. So that's the point on follow-up. And the team also mentioned that it's important for us to listen more, and also create an environment, for the guest to expand further on points that he actually brings, and also stay on certain points where, as and when it is necessary. On number 10, challenge respectful. What our team said that despite the conduct itself, we need to respect our guests, irrespective of the conduct, when we bring them into the studio, and we have to actually also make sure that we focus more on empowering the conversation to be much more beneficial to the listener, as we engage with our guests. Now, when it comes to number 11, conduct number 11, when it says debates versus argument, we've indicated that it is important to respect, as I've mentioned, and the guest, and also that we must be able to ensure that we don't disrupt the conversation, and the debates when they are being made. I think one of our colleagues indicated that we also need to understand the difference between the debates and the argument. And when we are actually engaging, we need to actually, engage with an intention of the listener, that we are empowering the knowledge. We can start maybe in a debate, but we have to work it out to ensure that we have an agreement at the end. It must not be left open, and the tone and the attitude also on how we debate is also very important, just to be done from the good point of view, to get the listener to be interested in the conversation. Now the last one, which is listening, we also engaged, and the main point that was made is that we should strive to have the good flow of the show and pick up the vital high notes on the conversation through listening, and also
we're losing you there, Sydney. Are you still connected? I think we're losing Sydney. If any colleague can take it up from there. From the group.
Hi, Sam.
Yes, Divesh.
I think he was, we lost him when he was talking about listening. Of course, listening is important throughout the whole conversation and interview that we'd be doing. What we had said as a group is that for you to be engaged with your guest, you would have to have the skill of listening, so that if the guest needs support in what he's saying, you can pick up on that. And if he's on a high note, you can then also exploit that high note and take it further. Let's just see what else we had. If you listen, you're showing respect towards your guest and your listeners. So that was also an important point. One other aspect which we spent was looking at the guests that we had earlier in the show. And we found that with regards to George, he had more of a systematic approach in terms of how you use SMART goals, and you set milestones, and how you go about attaining the goals and measuring those milestones. So as a motivation, you'd use a structured approach. Of course, there was references to religion, which doesn't necessarily have to be there, but it can also help you in terms of motivating you. And then also in terms of Simon, for him, we found that he was more inspirational and motivating as a person, as an individual. It was more a case of what he's achieved through his personality that motivates somebody to aspire towards what he has achieved in his life, rather than having some kind of a systematic approach. I think that's about it. If anyone else in my group wants to add anything else.
Thank you, Divesh. Any additional inputs that you? Yes, Sydney, you're back.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got cut. Yeah, but I think
You got cut again. Anyone who wants to add?
you've covered the
Yeah, we're still losing Sydney. Is that all, Divesh, that you wanted to report back on?
Yes, sir.
And how has the experience been in the team? How did you find the conversation in your mini lot?
Well, I must say, even though we chose the name of Shesha because we felt that the task that was given to us was rushed in terms of the limitation in the time, Although we did know each other to an extent, we didn't get the chance again of following the full Lekgotla process of, getting to know each other, setting the tone. We just jumped right in
Yes.
and did the work that needed to be done. So I guess the motivation and of Simon in particular, who is very adaptable to the changing times. We took that approach where we adapted and we just got in and did the work rather than really following the Kotla methodology as it would be fully done, if we had more time. But we did flow. We had good conversation from each of the members, and we all found agreements in terms of our thoughts.
But the principles of Lekgotla were in the back of your minds.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's coming to a point where I think after all the sessions we've had, it's getting ingrained into oneself. So it's becoming a cognitive competence.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. We will open the floor for clarifications by other non-members of your group once we have heard from Group C and D. Thank you very much, Divesh and Sydney. That is teamwork. It happens in the studio as well.
Amen. Amen. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah. This is real. That is a real situation with these technologies. Good. Thank you very much. Let's go to Group C.
Thanks, Sam, for jumping into Group C. Our group name is Kgotla ya Matlotlo, which translates to a house of finance. That is our group name. And our members, it's myself, Maynard Maisela. I'm into conferencing and events, management, professional shows. I've got Patrick Zima, who is into sports, arts and culture. I've got Tendani Munonoka, who's in arts and culture. I've got Lisibana Johannes, who is in Midday Gospel Fellowship show. I've got Ntate Joseph Monna Kgotla in economic and investment and finances. That is our group members. And in terms of the reflection, maybe I should just start with the reflections. Unfortunately, we were running out of time because I think we spent a lot of time trying to know each other on the other side because we actually never met like that before, some of us. So I managed to jot down some of the reflection on the Mr. Simon Marks, who he was more into technological space for sure. What inspires us is his focus on how he got this fifth industrial revolution at the right time. It is also important to note that it is important to motivate people to do what they are passionate about and convert that passion into the mission and their vision statement so that they can change the world, because that's what that Mr. Simon was all about. He sticks to his passion in the industry and then he strives towards that. And looking into that, lots of people are more into most people are spending time on their plans. So we need to be very proactive on how we approach this life now, because most of the time we are at home with our cell phones and all those things, and most of the companies, they saw a gap into that, and they developed a lot of mobile applications that they can help them work on the cell phones rather. So which is one of other things that is Mr. Simon was focusing on, which is developing the app that you can just use on your smartphones and all those things. So what the other points that we mentioned here? All right, no, fine. Let's move to the next item on the conduct, which is the follow-up. So on the follow-up, for sure, it is quite very important to make a follow-up if there is an interesting topic that maybe that came about, even if maybe we might find that maybe the point that whoever our guest mentioned maybe is not, it might open a can of debate for that day, but maybe it's important to make a follow-up on the next show or something with that particular topic. And on the conduct 10, on the challenge respectfully, I think it's also very crucial on that one as well, that we need to challenge our guests in a respectful manner. We need to approach them when if we want to challenge them, we must just challenge them in a professional way. Like, we don't want to show them that like we are trying to challenge them, but in a way we are just there just to interview with them so that they can take it easy on the side as well. So on it's gonna lead to the debate versus the argument as well. So we need to debate with them in a lenient way, in such a way that somebody doesn't take it as an argument, because it won't sit well to feel like now somebody is arguing with me on air or something. So it'd rather be a nice debate on air. And listening as well, for sure. Indeed, listening is a skill. So we know that like whatever the other guest speaker was saying, Simon and Mr. George, we tried to listen very attentively on all the aspects that we were trying to say as well. So I think listening as well is one of those things that we developed a skill on listening as well. And we noted our inputs there as well. The other speakers ask questions that show that we are listening to the guest speakers and we follow whatever they are saying. So I don't know if maybe from my team there's anyone who wants to add other things that I might have omitted, because I can see I was scribbling down here very fast. So I might have missed one or two things here. Colleagues?
Thank you, Menat. Colleagues from the group, any additional inputs? Are you happy? Is it covered you well? Menat?
That is him?
Tendani
looks like it's coming online. Tendani?
Okay.
No, I was thinking that Mona Khutla will go first, and then I will do the last point.
Mr. Munna Khotla, I don't see him.
He's there.
Oh, okay, yes, okay. He is muted and that Munna Khotla. Okay, Tendana.
Yeah, the network is. Yes, I think I can go ahead and come in and add just a bit on.
Okay.
Can you hear me? I'm
Yes.
hearing myself now.
We can hear you. We can hear you, Tendani.
Okay, thanks. Yes, I would like to add on the last point on the listening part of it, that in many a times we need to learn to listen or to know when your guest is going to finish the line. For instance, if you ask a question and a short question, like, okay, give us a year when you started with the project. That I'm just giving that example. And you would know as you listen that, the answer could be a little bit shorter. So as you are listening, don't jump to say, the guest can just simply say, I started 2 years ago, and the guest would want to say, I started 2 years ago, that was 2018. So before the guest can say it was in 2018, you would quickly jump in and say, oh, wow. But if you listen, even with the breathing towards, towards the end of the line, you will know that, okay, now it is time for us for you to start, adding anything to the line, because the thoughts of your guest can be having a lot to say, even if the question is slow. The guest would want to give you more to that, to your question, to say, yes, I started 2 years ago in 2018, and give you the reason as well. So if you don't listen, you will find yourself cutting, the guests, or stopping the guest to give you more information that is supposed to be given to the listeners, because we are there to give information to our listeners, but not to ourselves. Thank you, sir.
It's called allowing the guest to volunteer more information than just answering your question.
Yes.
Can I chip in?
Yes.
A broadcaster has a sense of responsibility to his guest, and he tries to say something that will be worth for that precious time. And just to go back to the reflection, Mr. Tsima and my team, we said it is very important to pause and reflect about from life, from time to time, where we come from and where we are now and where we are going. A reflection will give us confidence and peace of mind, and it will get us back on the right track if we are moving in the wrong direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ntate Monaghotlhe. Yes, the listening, it's all about digesting sometimes what has just been said, and sometimes try to find out what is it that they haven't said that you needed to deduce from what they've said. So I guess, as people are saying, it's an art and it comes with practice. But I think just being consciously aware that your lack of listening could actually be affecting the quality of conversation, I guess. Great. Well done to Group C. So let's go to Group D.
I am Group D representative.
Yes,
so we are no longer Group D. We are the pioneers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So in our group on conduct number 9, being follow up, when we looked at it in about.
Sorry, just tell us who your group members are.
Oh, sorry. So in my group, our chairperson was Mpusetse. The scribe and the presenter was myself, Sikha. Then we had Tembela Khosani, Abel Sibutla, and Sabelo Mahlalela. Then we had Ndate George as an observer, and he provided valuable inputs. Yeah. So with regards to the name, there was no motivation or anything behind it. We just came up with names unlike the others. Then we followed the Lekgotla approach, methodology, not approach, methodology. And yeah, it was new to some of us and it was great. Then on follow-up, as I was saying, it came about in about 3 points. So the follow-up we covered, it means the follow-up with your guests. Not it's not necessarily during the broadcast. That happens if you have made an appointment with the guests prior the show. If you need to feedback with them, you need to go back and honor those appointments and any discussions that you have with your potential guests. The other point was on around when they speak. Allow them to speak during the show as a subject matter expert. Give them the freedom to speak and voice their input. And follow-ups also mean thanking them and keeping in contact with your guests and even giving them the opportunity to invite them for future shows. And with that, how we reflected on it, we gave an example with the session that we had with George and Simon. So the Q&A that were posed to them, in a way, it was a follow-up because we were seeking clarity from them and any further information that we needed from them. On conduct number 10, debate and arguments, challenge respectfully. So we challenge respectfully. What that means is that you must do your homework. Was it a bit for me? Oh, okay. Okay, we challenge respectfully. It was around we must do our homework, and doing your homework means you go research about the matter that you're gonna be presenting so that you're able to participate, and make sure you do a briefing with your guests. And you must remember that during the show is not about you, it's for the benefit of the listener. And you should try to avoid to come out as if you belittling or demeaning or making a personal attack to your guests. The other point there was that what that means in a practical manner, that we're speaking about the Sunday show, that what that means is that you need to make sure that the environment, you create an environment that's conducive for discussion with your co-host or your guest. And if during the show, because there's proper planning, if there's an element that maybe your co-host or the guest deviates from the plan, you must challenge it in a respectful manner as opposed to making it clear to the listeners or any other person that the person actually said something or came up with a point that was not supposed to be said during the show. On the next conduct on debate and argument, how we interpreted that is that it's conflict resolution. In the event that you have difference of opinion, you need to deal with it in such a manner that it doesn't. So immediately you are in a conversation and you have different of opinion, immediately that it becomes a back and forth. It must be, you must delay the conversation maybe and say, maybe we'll take it up another time, or make it a point of debate for another show, as opposed to creating chaos during the live broadcast. And at the same time, that means when you challenge the viewpoint of another, you need to make sure that you are challenging the thought and not the person. Then on the last conduct, which is listening. So there, when we were talking about it, it was you must listen actively. By listening actively, you'll be able to respond in a proper way and be able to hear what is being said or not being said in a way. So when you listen actively as well, your Q&A will come from a reflective point of view as opposed to a scheduled, you will follow up in a way. And your listening will be, you'll be listening to understand as opposed to just carrying on with the show, and there'll be some sort of chemistry there. So my team members can add up.
Awful stuff. So you are saying that it can happen that you plan the lineup of questions, but as you listen to the guest reflectively, actively to reflect, you could shelve some of the questions because there's something that is coming out of the fresh inputs of the listener, of the guest.
Yes.
And having listened attentively, you are able then to not to ask questions just because you have prepared them, but to follow up and engage on the basis of what the guest has said.
Yeah, then it doesn't
Powerful
become a
stuff.
classroom, it becomes a conversation.
Wow. Great stuff. Additional points from the pioneers?
Yes, Mr. Zema.
Yes, Captain.
For me, I just wanted to highlight specifically that we followed the Mini Lekgotla methodology, specifically because some of the team members have been, they've never attended or been in a session where we are running this. So we really spend time more into the process or the methodology itself, more content. But as well, I can be able to say, having elected as a chair, everyone had an opportunity to be able to speak and in each and every subject. That's one of the things which the Lekgotla methodology really emphasizes. Without to say each and every person can have an opportunity to be able to speak and to be listened, whether it's from their experience and their perspective, they should feel free that they can be able to speak. So we try to instill that into a group discussions today. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much. That is exactly what we expected from those of you who are familiar with the methodology, because that's the objective is to digest the content or the subject of discussion, but we are also very interested in the application of the methodology. So I'm glad that that could be addressed. But going forward, we're going to have more of this. And yes, today it was like a speedy Mini Lekgotla, and that just tells you that you are not always going to have time. But if you have learned the methodology, you are able to use it where it's practical. It's not like a rule that you have to stick to all the nitty-gritties, but it must be in your DNA. that you remember that the purpose of Mini Lekgotla is to allow people to talk, to hear everybody's input, to process it. And it's not about finishing everything. That's why it wasn't a concern of us when the time was up and you were still discussing. We said, that's fine. Most certainly what you have discussed, you have a quality. So yeah, great. Let's use the remaining minutes to check out and also just to reflect generally from those who haven't had time to speak. Anyone who wants to reflect and also check out. In terms of checkout, I think it's page 44 of the Lekgotla manual, which is also standard checkout of meetings, but also checkout of in coaching. We use that a lot. So we want one person or two to share with us what was confirmed for them by the Lekgotla today or by the lecture today. Any aha moments, insights, new knowledge, take home, and new behavioral practices that they would like to put into play. Any volunteer?
Sam, thank you. Can I go?
Yes, yes,
it's still. I'm not good. I'm going to check out, but I'm not going to do the whole list.
Okay.
Can I just do what is confirmed for me today, based on Simon and George?
Yes.
On both of them, I've picked. I'm going to start with what I picked from George, which was he confirmed that you always on what you do, you always need to look at for his hello.
I think we lost you there. If you can repeat that point.
Okay, there is a Sam. Okay, there is a point that George mentioned, that looking at what is bigger than himself. That when he started the show, when he started with the radio show, he looked at what is it that is bigger than him. He looked at family, the Christian family, which was the most important thing. That his focus was to reach out to the Christian family. So with us, or with me, what I've learned is that I have an idea when it comes to the arts and culture, but what is the main thing that I want to reach out to? I want to reach out to the community. I want to reach out to the world. And that should be the thing that would motivate me, or that must motivate me. It's confirmed that I'm not doing this for myself. I don't want to teach myself arts and culture, but I want to teach, other people.
That is the bigger purpose, right?
Our arts and culture, the heritage, of Africa. That is what it comes again to what Simon has said as well. Passion from his little age, that he can share news that people has not heard before. Built his passion. That what built him so much that I want to tell him he was so much passionate about that.
Great stuff. You were cutting there, but we got the message. So that the bigger purpose and the passion, and the bigger purpose being reaching out to people, not your own focusing on yourself. I think that is the main message that you got from the two speakers, right?
Yes. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. Great. Thanks for that confirmation. Anyone who wants to check out, not on all the points, whatever point. And Sabelo?
Well, thank you so much, Brother Sam. Mine was, I my take and what was confirmed was from our brother George. You know, when he mentioned how powerful the platform that we have broadcasting, the responsibility that is in our hands when we are participating on this platform. We have an impact that we're making to many people's lives. And that for me was really an eye-opener. You know, sometimes we take certain platforms maybe for granted without looking at really how powerful these platforms are. The people that are listening, you know, their lives can be changed by what we do and what we say. That for me was really powerful, to say we are the biggest influencers in whatever we do. We have to approach it with a bigger responsibility, because we can make or break people in what we say and what we do. So for me, that was very powerful. And also the fact that there is a bigger purpose than ourselves. You know, it goes into in that direction. From Simon's side, from Simon, what I got, the passion. I love that the advice that was giving us when he was asked a question about what would it take to be a Simon Marks, when he said that the passion that is the most important thing, but also that find a way of engaging and also be relevant to your audience. So those are the things that I just took from both the speakers. Thank you.
Beautiful stuff. Yeah. Never judge yourself and think you are not making an impact on people's lives. It might be one person, but that might be one life that you are saving. Sekha?
Hi. Okay. My takeaway from today's was around, like the two notes I made was around keep up to date with the trending topics, so that you're able to voice your mind. Then the other one that kind of like hit home was on this work-life integration, right? When Simon was talking about showing us his home studio, as first I thought, okay, COVID had changed everything. It's all about the new normal and working from home. But only to realize that his studio was built pre-COVID in order for him to achieve a better work-life balance. So my takeaway was like, how do you still achieve your career or your work life and not be at the detriment of your own social life or even family life? So that was my takeaway.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir. All right, thanks, colleagues. We've obviously ran out of time, but the invitation is open from Simon and I guess from George as well. I would have loved to acknowledge the CEO of the Institute of People Management, Dr. Jerry Gule, who was with us at the beginning until the end of the presentations. But he had to go home because he only reserved 1 hour and he had some commitments. So hopefully we'll have some more time to engage with him, because as the CEO of the People Management Institute of People Management, I think these are some of the issues as they engage with the member companies and professional HR professionals, that these are the issues that are discussed. So we'll have some opportunity to engage with him. We are getting along, colleagues. Next, And we are on module number 6, lecture 6, module number 6. One lecture before the midway. I'm sure you are starting to pick up some shift in your own self in terms of how comfortable you are engaging with the topic of being a DJ. Today you have heard that it's not just being a DJ, there's a huge responsibility behind engaging people on topics that matter. So I hope we are creating a much bigger meaning to ourselves. And as we go through these lectures and getting these conducts out of the way, you are counting towards the 30-second conduct. I'm sure after that 30-second conduct, you could be at another level. So the next lecture, which will be in March, is lecture 6 in module 6, will cover conduct number 13 to conduct number 16. 13, something that we take very lightly, including myself. Sometimes I get tempted, I do that, and you get embarrassed. That is eating in the studio. In this case, a virtual studio, we tend to say, people don't see you, and then you do that, and you can be choked, in the middle of a talk or a show. Conduct 14 is about focus, being focused, and then conduct number 15 is dealing with distraction of technology itself. We use the technology, but sometimes you have much more technology around you that you are not using at that point in time, and it becomes a distraction, like the telephone and mobile phone that is not being used. That could be. So we'll look at how you tackle and deal with all these equipments, because as you become professional, there will be more equipments, devices around you, as we have seen with Simon Marks. The moves from television to audio and all those things. But we will be focusing on the mobile phone itself, and then conduct number 16, which is more about authenticity. Yeah, so let's hold it there. Thank you very much for your time. We will share the podcast with you, and then hopefully you will be able to revisit it. And those who were tuning in for the first time into concept of Lekgotla, we hope one day you could spend a full day with us to learn the whole Lekgotla methodology, because it's very, very powerful. Thank you for your time. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you did as well. We are looking forward to lecture 6, module 6. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam, for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Prasam.
Good night, Prasam.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Night,
Brother
colleagues.
George,
Good
for your
night.
input.
Good
We
night.
appreciate
Good
it.
night.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it too. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, brother.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Good night.